My name is Charles, and after 30 years as a Navy SEAL, the last 10 as an Admiral, I thought I'd seen every kind of coward there was. I was wrong. I walked into Martha's Diner on a Tuesday morning, same as I had every day since retiring to this small coastal town 6 months ago. The smell of coffee and bacon greeted me like an old friend. "Morning, Admiral," Helen Morrison called from behind the counter. The diner owner had taken to calling me that despite my protests. "Just Charles, Helen," I said, sliding into my usual booth. A new waitress approached my table. She was young, maybe 25, with blonde hair pulled back tight. "Coffee?" she asked quietly, not meeting my eyes. "Please, and I'll take the usual, scrambled eggs, bacon, wheat toast." She wrote it down, and that's when I saw them. Bruises on her wrist, partially hidden by her sleeve. Fresh ones, dark purple against pale skin. My jaw tightened. 30 years of training kicked in immediately. "I'm Sarah," she said, still not looking up. "Charles. Nice to meet you, Sarah." When she reached for my menu, her sleeve rode up further. More bruises, finger-shaped marks around her forearm. She caught me looking and quickly pulled her sleeve down. "I'll get that coffee." I watched her hurry away, moving stiffly like every step hurt. Helen came over with the coffee pot. "New girl started last week. Sweet kid, hard worker." "She seems nervous," I said carefully. Helen's expression darkened. "Her husband Derek picks her up after every shift. Real controlling type if you ask me." "Derek Patterson? You know him?" "I've seen him around town. Big guy. Works at the auto shop?" "That's him." Helen lowered her voice. "Yesterday, I heard him yelling at her in the parking lot. Told her she talked to customers too much." My hands curled into fists under the table. Sarah returned with my breakfast, moving carefully like her ribs hurt. "Thank you, Sarah." She gave a small smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Let me know if you need anything." As she walked away, I saw her wince. A loud voice boomed from the entrance. "Sarah, we need to talk, now." Derek Patterson stood in the doorway, 6'3", muscular, wearing grease-stained coveralls. His face was red with anger. Sarah froze. "Derek, I'm working." "I said now." He grabbed her arm right where the bruises were. She gasped in pain. I stood up. "Excuse me." Derek turned to me, still gripping Sarah's arm. "This doesn't concern you, old man." "You're hurting her. Let go." "She's my wife. Mind your own business." Helen stepped forward. "Derek, you need to leave." "We're leaving together." He yanked Sarah toward the door. "No, you're not," I said calmly, positioning myself between them and the exit. Derek released Sarah and stepped closer to me. "You want a problem?" "I'm trying to prevent one." "Derek, please," Sarah whispered. "Just go. I'll see you at home." He pointed at her. "You better be there by 2, and don't talk to anybody." He stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Sarah stood there shaking, tears running down her face. Helen put her arm around her. "Honey, you don't have to go home to that." "You don't understand," Sarah sobbed. "He'll get worse if I don't." I knew that fear. I'd seen it in war zones, in villages where tyrants ruled through terror. But this wasn't a war zone. This was America, my town, and I wasn't going to let this continue. I came back to the diner that evening, just before closing. Sarah was wiping down tables, alone. Helen had gone home an hour ago. "We're actually closed," she said softly. "I know. I wanted to talk to you. Just talk." She looked toward the window nervously. "Derek will be here soon." "Sarah, those bruises on your arm, that's not the first time, is it?" Her eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I spent 3 decades protecting people from bullies and cowards. I know what I saw." "You can't help me," she whispered. "Nobody can." Why not? Because he'll kill me if I try to leave. He's told me 100 times. I sat down across from her. How long has this been going on? She wiped her eyes. 2 years. It started 6 months after we got married. What happened yesterday that made him so angry? A customer, an older man, asked if I had kids. Derek saw through the window. He said I was flirting. She laughed bitterly. Flirting with a 70-year-old man. Does he hit you? She nodded, tears streaming. Last night, he shoved me into the wall, said I embarrassed him. Sarah, I can help you, but you have to trust me. How? How can you possibly help? I have resources, connections, but first, I need evidence. Photos, recordings, anything that documents what he's doing. He checks my phone constantly. Then we'll use mine. I pulled out my phone. Let me take pictures of those bruises. Do you have any others? She hesitated, then slowly pulled up her sleeve. The bruises covered her entire forearm. I documented everything, my anger building with each photo. Are there more? She lifted her shirt slightly, revealing dark bruises across her ribcage. Jesus, I muttered. Has he ever threatened you in text or voicemail? All the time, but I delete them because I'm scared he'll see that I kept them. Do you know his passwords? He uses the same one for everything, our wedding date. Can you log into his accounts? Maybe. Why? Because men like Derek usually leave digital trails, angry messages, threats, controlling behavior documented in his own words. The next day, Sarah came to my house during her lunch break. I got into his email, she said, hands shaking as she showed me her phone. There's dozens of messages to me, horrible, threatening things. I read through them, each one worse than the last. This is good, Sarah. This is really good. Now, I need you to meet someone. Who? Detective Ryan Harris. He's an old friend, and he's going to help us. I can't go to the police. Derek will... Derek won't know. Not yet. We're building a case, Sarah, an airtight one. 2 days later, Sarah, Detective Harris, and I met at my house. Sarah, I need you to tell me everything, Ryan said gently. Start from the beginning. She told him everything, every hit, every threat, every time Derek isolated her from friends and family. Ryan took detailed notes. Charles showed me the photos and emails. This is enough for assault charges and a protective order. A protective order won't stop him, Sarah said. He's told me he'll kill me before he lets me leave. Then we don't just get a protective order, I said. We make sure the entire town knows what kind of man he is. Ryan raised an eyebrow. What are you thinking? Derek's power comes from operating in the shadows, from Sarah being too afraid to speak up. What if we take that power away? How? Sarah asked. We expose him, publicly, in a way he can't deny or spin. I pulled out my phone and started making calls. First, Jessica Parker, a journalist at the local newspaper. Then the mayor's office. Then the chief of police. Then every business owner and community leader I'd met since moving here. What are you doing? Sarah asked. I'm organizing a town meeting, I said, and Derek Patterson is going to be the guest of honor. The community center was packed 3 nights later. Over 200 people filled every seat, stood along the walls, and crowded in the doorway. Sarah sat in the front row between Helen and Jessica Parker, the journalist who'd been interviewing her all week. Derek sat across the aisle, flanked by his parents and looking confused about why he'd been invited to discuss community safety initiatives. Mayor Thompson stood at the podium. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're here to discuss an important issue affecting our town. Derek leaned over to his mother. What's this about? I stood up from my seat. It's about you, Derek. His head snapped toward me. What? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Charles. I'm a retired Navy SEAL Admiral. 6 months ago, I moved to this town looking for peace and community. The crowd was silent. Instead, I discovered that one of our neighbors was living in terror, being beaten, threatened, isolated from everyone who cared about her. Derek stood up. "This is ridiculous. I don't know what he's talking about." "Sit down, Derek," Detective Harris said from the back of the room. "That neighbor is Sarah Patterson," I continued. "Derek's wife." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sarah stood up, trembling but resolute. "It's true. Derek has been abusing me for 2 years." "She's lying!" Derek shouted. "This is insane!" Mayor Thompson nodded to the tech operator. "Roll the presentation." The screen behind the podium lit up with photos. Sarah's bruises, her injuries, dated and documented. "Oh my God," someone whispered. Then came screenshots of Derek's threatening emails and texts. "You make me do this. You embarrass me. You deserve what you get. If you ever try to leave me, I'll kill you. You're nothing without me." Derek's face went white. "Where did you get those?" "You sent them to your wife," Detective Harris said. "That makes them evidence." Helen stood up. "I've seen Derek grab Sarah in my diner parking lot. I heard him scream at her for talking to customers." Another woman stood. "I'm Derek's coworker's wife. He brags at barbecues about keeping his woman in line." One by one, witnesses stood up sharing what they'd seen, what they'd heard, what they'd suspected but been too afraid to say. Derek's parents sat frozen, their faces ashen. "This is a witch hunt!" Derek yelled. "No," I said calmly. "This is accountability." Jessica Parker stood. "Mr. Patterson, I'm a reporter with the Coastal Times. I've interviewed your wife extensively. Would you like to comment on her allegations before my article runs tomorrow?"
"I'm not saying anything without a lawyer."
"That's probably wise," Detective Harris said, walking down the aisle. "Derek Patterson, I have a warrant for your arrest on charges of assault, battery, and criminal threats." Derek bolted for the side door, but I'd anticipated that. 3 other veterans I'd called stood blocking it. "Don't make this worse," Ryan said. Derek looked around wildly, seeing 200 faces staring at him with disgust and anger. He slumped in defeat. Ryan cuffed him while reading his rights. As they led Derek out, he looked at Sarah with pure hatred. "You'll regret this." "No," Sarah said clearly. "You will." The community center buzzed with conversation after Derek was taken away. Mayor Thompson approached me. "Admiral, that was quite something." "Necessary," I replied. Sarah came over, still shaking. "I can't believe that just happened." Helen hugged her tight. "You were so brave, honey." "What happens now?" Sarah asked. Detective Harris joined us. "Now we file formal charges. With all this evidence and public witnesses, the prosecutor has a strong case." "Will he go to jail?" "Almost certainly. Assault with documented threats? He's looking at serious time." Jessica Parker flipped open her notebook. "Sarah, how does it feel to have the whole town behind you?" Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "I never thought anyone would believe me or care." "Everyone cares," Helen said firmly. An older woman approached hesitantly. "Sarah, I'm Caroline Wright. I went through something similar 20 years ago. I wish I'd had the courage you showed tonight." "I didn't have courage," Sarah said. "Charles did." "You survived," I told her. "That took more courage than anything I did." More people gathered around, offering support, sharing their own stories, pledging to help Sarah rebuild her life. Derek's mother approached, tears streaming down her face. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "Mrs. Patterson, no, please. I should have seen it, should have asked." She turned to me. "Thank you for doing what we should have done." 3 weeks later, I sat in the courtroom as the judge delivered Derek's sentence. "Mr. Patterson, your actions represent a systematic campaign of terror against your wife," Judge Morrison said. You abused your position of trust to isolate and harm a vulnerable person. Derek stood in his orange jumpsuit, no longer looking defiant. I'm sentencing you to 5 years in state prison, followed by 5 years of supervised probation. You will have no contact with Miss Patterson, and yes, she's Ms. now, as the divorce was finalized yesterday. Sarah squeezed my hand. She'd moved into a small apartment and was looking into college classes. Do you have anything to say? The judge asked Derek. Sarah, please, Derek began. I'm sorry. I can change. We can work this out. Sarah stood up. No, Derek, we can't. Please, I love you. You never loved me. You loved controlling me. There's a difference. The bailiff led Derek away, still pleading. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded us. Miss Patterson, what do you want people to know? Jessica asked, her camera rolling. That it's not your fault, that you're not alone, and that there are people who will help you if you ask. And you, Admiral, what made you get involved? I didn't serve 30 years protecting our country to ignore a threat in my own backyard. Evil thrives when good people do nothing. Helen stood with a group from the diner. We've started a fundraiser to help Sarah with school expenses. You don't have to do that, Sarah protested. We want to, Mayor Thompson said. You showed this town what real courage looks like. That evening, Sarah and I sat on my porch watching the sunset. I start classes in 3 weeks, she said. Social work. I want to help people like me. You'll be amazing at it. Charles, I don't know how to thank you. You already did. You trusted me. You found your voice. You saved yourself. With your help. That's what communities are supposed to do. Protect each other. She smiled, genuinely this time. I never thought I'd feel safe again. You are now, and you'll never have to face anything like that alone again. Have you ever witnessed someone being abused and wished you'd done something? Sometimes all it takes is one person to stand up and others will follow. Like and subscribe for more stories about people who refused to be victims and fought back the right way.